we are going to click on today's folder. You will make a copy of your 2.2a notes. You will click on that assignment. And you will click on the link to make a copy of your notes. And then we will get started. You guys have your copy of notes. Alright, so our notes from yesterday, we're going over the specific domains that everything is categorized into. And we talked about them being the bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. And then within eukarya, our notes covered that there are 4 kingdoms within that. So today's notes are going over how we classify then those organisms. So far, scientists have identified more than 1 billion kinds of organisms on Earth. And biologists group organisms together based on their similarities, just like we did with that junk drawer, and just like if you've ever gone to the store and somebody's like bagging your food together, generally people will put all of your like dairy products together and like milk and cheese and eggs and things like that. Or all of the cold groceries go together, all of your cans go in a bag, if there's like boxes, they all go together. They're grouping them together based on their similarities. Then our definition of classification is that it's the process of grouping things based on their similarities. Okay, so we classify things all the time, whether you realize it, based on when you organize, or if you put like your shirts together, like when you put your shirts away or clothes away by a certain color, or like you hang things by a certain color, or if it's all like red shirts, blue pants, things like that. You're classifying and organizing them. Right, so biologists use classification to organize living things into groups so that the organisms are easier to study. Once you put those into those groups of organisms that have similar features, then you can study how they all function in a similar way, why they have the same characteristics, if they have something different and need to go into another group, things like that. And then our other definition is taxonomy, which is the scientific study of how those living things are classified. Taxonomy then also involves how we name organisms. So in the 1750s, the Swedish naturalist Carolus Linnaeus came up with this system of naming organisms that we still use today because we give organisms their scientific name, and we have discovered new organisms throughout the years, so they get new names. And how he set this up was he gave each organism a unique 2-part name. So it has to do with the genus that they're part of and then the species that identifies what that organism is. So this naming system is called binomial nomenclature. The word binomial means 2 names, and then how it's set up is the first word in the scientific name is the genus, and then the second word is what describes a feature of the organism, like where it lives or its appearance, and that is the species name. So based on some characteristic, like if it has thick fur or if it has like claws, things like that, that helps categorize it and put it into its different groups. Okay, so the genus, which the plural for that is genera, is a classification grouping that contains similar, closely related organisms. So this would be like if you had a group of cats together, or animals that were similar to cats, like a puma, which is an outline, or marbled cats, or even house cats. They are all classified in the genus Felis. So they share characteristics such as sharp retractable claws, or they have similar behaviors such as hunting for their food. You could do this with certain types of dogs, or like put like wolves in there as well, and then compare their characteristics, and they would be part of the genus family. Okay, then when you get into a species, this is a group of similar organisms that can mate and reproduce, and then produce offspring that can also mate and reproduce. So they're producing the same type of organism. So this is your specific animal. More specific than just saying like I have a dog. This would be like I have a Boston Terrier. It's that specific breed for that specific species of dog. So this kind of just shows how you have some cats that are grouped as the genus Felis, but then there's also different genera based on different features. So like a lion, a tiger, and a leopard would be part of the Panthera genus based on their characteristics. Okay, a complete scientific name is written in italics. Only the first letter of the word is capitalized, and then the scientific names are in Latin because that was the language of the time. So a lot of the Latin words are like very weird, very long, hard to pronounce words, but it gives you identifying features of what those names are. We will stick with the common names of animals, but we are going to practice identifying what their classifications are. Okay, so our levels of classification then are broken down into 8 levels. The first category is just a broad group, and then as you go down the levels of classification, you get put into more specific groups. And then the more classification levels that 2 organisms share, the more characteristics they have in common. So like even like a gray wolf and a blue whale are more similar than like a gray wolf and a bird. Honey? organization then are, we start with domain, which is the highest level of organization. So again, those were the domains, bacteria, archaea, and eukarya that we talked about yesterday. And then within that domain are kingdoms. So for animals, when we look at them, they're all going to be part of the domain eukarya. And then if we're looking at animals, they're all going to be part of the kingdom Animalia. And then once you get into kingdoms, there are phyla. And this is where you'll start to separate animals out. Whether it's like a bird or an invertebrate, or animals that have a backbone. And then their classes. Then you go into orders, then families. Then in each family, you have one or more genera, which is that genus. So like with the pictures of the cats, there were the Felis genera, and then there was that Panthera genera. They're all still part of the same family, being like a cat, but there's specific genuses, or genera then, of what type of cat it is based on its characteristics. And then you get into the specific species. Once you are finished with these notes, you are going to submit them. And then you are going to go back to today's folder. And just so you know, you guys do have homework, 2.2 homework. You'll see the assignment. You'll just have to make a copy of it, and then you'll submit it tomorrow or this evening.